on, guys? Welcome back. Kenny's on your right, Caden is on your left, and we are happy to bring you guys episode 12 of the Tinted Visors podcast. This week, we're going to shake things up just a little bit, and we're going to do a Christmas-themed episode in light of the holidays. And so we're going to do a naughty or nice list. We're going to do some this or that presents edition. We're going to hit you guys with another draft battle and then end it off with a little bit of different trivia. But with that being said, let's get it going.
Put in the work, but I don't be getting my flowers. You really thought you...
Before we get going, like always, we're going to do card of the day. And I'm back home, so I have all my cards at my disposal. And today we're going to go with a Steven Stamkos card. Patch auto, numbered 4 out of 5. Pretty cool, just being so low numbered. It's kind of a cheesy card, just the green doesn't really work well, especially with their jerseys. And then it's sticker auto, so it's not the greatest. But the fact that it's out of 5, it's a triple colored patch. It's, obviously my favorite player, so it's a super cool card.
No, absolutely. The 4 or 5 is really cool, and the tri-colored patch, the thing is absolutely filthy. So for me, in light of his goal-scoring ways, we actually have a Brock Besser Young Guns. It is BGS, it is only a 9. Got it for cheap, though. Won it on a Raz on Instagram. And he's been tearing it up for the Canucks. He's everything we've been hoping for. He's showing signs of rookie year Besser, and he's exceeding those expectations. So really great to see him having a good year, and hopefully he can keep it up.
So like I said, guys, we're going to bring you a new segment, and we're going to play the role of Santa here, and we're going to have a naughty and nice list. So the first guy on my nice list, it's a little generic, but speaking of your card, it is Brock Besser. 34 games played. He's got 24 goals, 14 assists for 38 points, over a point per game. That's the least you can ask for from a guy like him. And he's already beat his goal totals from the past 4 seasons. I think a couple of seasons ago he had 23. Obviously last season it wasn't that high either, but he's already passed it, and he's got more than half a season to go. So I would expect, well over 30, maybe even 40, maybe 50 goals, who knows. But he's putting the puck in the net. That's all Vancouver needs right now. And he's, leading the way for them.
No, absolutely. Brock Star is so back after being plagued with injuries and stuff happening off the ice. Canucks fans were wondering if we'd ever get to see rookie year Besser again. And this year we're seeing it. His shot is buzzing again. It's flying off his stick, and anything he touches is going in the net. Having a career year, and I totally expect it to continue. Hopefully he can keep putting that puck in the net. So the first player on my nice list, we're going to go with Noah Dobson of the New York Islanders. Having a great year, kind of flying under the radar almost. He's tied for the team lead in points with Matthew Barzal at 33 points, with the only difference being that Noah Dobson's a defenseman while Matthew Barzal is a forward. And despite having this great year, I don't think Noah Dobson's kind of getting the love he deserves, other than from Islander fans, being from the state of New York and having more attention on the Rangers or even the Devils. So Noah Dobson on the nice list.
Yeah, he's playing really well, and if he keeps it going, they're going to sneak into the playoffs and take a spot away from, the underperforming Capitals, the underperforming Penguins, and, even the Devils right now. Going to my naughty list, first on there, it's a duo. It is Patrick Laine and Johnny Gaudreau out of Columbus. Both guys are just falling out of favor in Columbus right now. And when it gets down to, the last few minutes in the game, they need a goal. Neither of those guys are touching the ice. And that's just the reality that it is. All the kids are really showing up in Columbus, and good on them. They're taking advantage of the spots. Fantilli, Marchenko, Kent Johnson, they're all just excelling. But, looking at their stat lines, Patrick Laine, 6 goals, 3 assists for 9 points. Johnny Gaudreau, 6 goals, 15 assists for 21 points. That's a $16 million duo right there. And those are the stat lines that they're giving out for the Blue Jackets. They're not the greatest roster, but those guys should be nearing point per game at least. And, with Gaudreau, I think he's got to change within. I think that contract's, non-movable right now. And I think something's going to happen with the coach. Something's going to happen with Gaudreau himself, and they got to fix that. Patrick Laine, on the other hand, I do think, a change of scenery is what's best for them. I think another team, multiple teams, would take another shot with Patrick Laine and sort of give him, give up some assets for him. And so I think, if he moves on, I think he could excel. But for right now, those guys are on the naughty list.
And Gaudreau was that huge offseason signing just a couple seasons ago with Columbus, coming off a career year with Calgary. And so far, he has not lived up to expectations. And with the way he's performing, you'd expect Columbus to be pretty far down in the standings, but their saving grace, like you said, is those young guys. Johnson, Fantilli, and Marchenko, they've been red hot as of lately, like you've said. Whereas on Laine's part, he has spent a lot of time on the IR this year, so it's tough to kind of blame him. He has been very injury-plagued this year. Love the player, love that shot as well, so hopefully he can either get healthy and turn it around with Columbus, or a change of scenery might be necessary. So going to the first player on my naughty list, going out west, we have Pierre-Luc Dubois of the LA Kings. Huge trade in the offseason. He wanted out of Winnipeg. They granted his wishes, shipping him off to LA for a boatload of assets. That being said, Pierre-Luc Dubois has not lived up to expectations, and he's not even close. He has 12 points in 29 games played, an awful stat on a very good Kings team. He has the supporting cast around him to succeed. He's just not performing. And you look at the flip side of that trade. I'm just going to look at one piece that that Winnipeg acquired in that trade for him. Gabe Vilardi has been injured. He's only played 13 games, and he has more points than Pierre-Luc Dubois. He's point per game with 13 points. Just an awful look for LA and Pierre-Luc Dubois himself right now. And hopefully he can turn it around. He has the skill set. He's still quite young, but we'll see. But for now, he's on the naughty list.
So this is the problem with doing this kind of blind and not telling each other who's on whose list, because my player on the naughty list is Pierre-Luc Dubois as well, so I'm just going to add on. But you hit it all right on the spot. And additionally, I follow. He's gotten more points than Dubois as well. Granted, he's played more games, but I mean, that's a third, even fourth line player that he's outperforming Pierre-Luc Dubois, and he's not even the main piece in that return. On top of that, you got Kupari. On top of that, you have a second-round pick. The trade just looking terrible. Dubois is ending up on the third line, making $8 million, and he's a -5. Like an LA Kings team that's that good and that high up in the standings, how can you be in the negatives as like one of your, technically the most offensive player that they have? So it's just a bad look for the LA Kings right now. I mean, I do expect them to turn around a bit, but Kevin Cheveldayoff's just looking like a master at just pulling off one of the greatest heists. But flipping back, we'll go to my second player on the nice list, and just as generic as Besser, we're going to go with Nikita Kucherov. It's hard to sort of ignore what he's kind of done this season. Only 33 games in, he's got 57 points. He's on pace for around 141 points, which would beat his personal record. I think a lot of people, sort of forgot how good of a player he was when he took that season off a couple of years ago, and people sort of forgot, how, he was a top 5 player, and I think he's coming back and showing he's a top 5 player again. Watching the games, especially as a Tampa fan, it doesn't look like they're a playoff team without him. Like, he's carrying them night in, night out. He can get 3 points, in a period. He can get 5 points in a game. He's just that good, and he's carrying them right now, win after win. And he better keep it up, because if he doesn't, I don't think the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to make the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely. He has been stuffing the stat sheet and off to a blistering pace, and he's just been everywhere on the ice. And he's really making a strong case for the Hart Trophy, for being a finalist for that award. We still have more than halfway to go through the season, but hopefully he can keep this up. The only knock against him for the Hart Trophy is, like you said, the Tampa Bay's success. If they don't make the playoffs, I do think it's going to be hard to make an argument for him for that award when you've got guys like Connor McDavid also making an extremely strong case, as he's got the Oilers on his back. But yeah, absolutely, Nikita Kucherov on the nice list for you. So my second player on the nice list, going with another Vancouver Canuck. You went with Besser. I'll go with the counterpart. We have J.T. Miller. 46 points in 34 games, which is good for third in the league at the time of this recording. There were a lot of questions about this contract extension that he signed a few seasons ago. It was an 8x8. It carries him through his 30s, and a lot of Canucks fans weren't happy with it. But he's showed no signs of slowing down. He's on pace for 111 points this year, which would smash his career high of 99. He's been a huge reason why the Canucks are off to such a good start this year. And don't expect him to slow down. Look for him to continue this pace and get close to 111 points. I think that would be a great gift for Canucks fans.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the spot. He's been one of their best players for sure. And, just going back to, the offseason or even last season, they were close to moving him. A lot of reports came out that he was going to go to Pittsburgh or whatever. But, good on them for keeping him. Good on them for getting that contract extension. Obviously, it didn't look good last year, but this year it's looking great. Obviously, maybe in this year 6, 7, 8, it's not going to look good. But as of right now, Canucks fans better be happy with JT Miller, because he's here to stay and he's here to put on a show. Sticking with the Christmas theme, sticking with us being Santa, we're going to do a this or that Christmas edition and just what the fans would like to see under their Christmas tree this year. So, Caden, for the first one I got for you, it is a Vancouver Canucks one. So, on December 25th, when you wake up, would you rather see under your Christmas tree a Elias Pettersson team-friendly contract extension, but the Canucks miss the playoffs? Or would you rather a guaranteed playoff appearance, but Pettersson chases the bag?
This is a tough one. And Pedersen has come out and said that he wants to win. So if we do get that extension but miss the playoffs, it would be interesting to see how he acts. But just looking at the facts, I think we still take the Pedersen team-friendly extension and miss the playoffs. You look at the team, most of the core is locked up. You see JT Miller, Quinn Hughes has a couple seasons left, same thing with Thatcher Demko. And no one else, we're not really losing to age. It's a young team. I think we can still contend for years to come after this. So if we lock up Petey, I think we can still contend and make the playoffs the season after. I don't think it's a big deal that we don't make the playoffs this year because I don't think we're going to win the cup this year. So that being said, I would take the team-friendly Pedersen extension and miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, in that ultimatum, I would do the same thing. Especially with, Myers coming off the books next year, then we get some money there for maybe, another piece to sort of make the playoffs the year after. But I think, making the playoffs was only really important to get Pettersson to sign the contract. So if he does sign it and they miss it, then, at least he's signed and he can make it the next year.
So you did the Canucks. I'll throw it back to you with your favorite team. We'll go with Tampa Bay. So would you rather see under the tree a top 4 defenseman added to the Tampa Bay Lightning or a top 6 forward added?
That's pretty easy. If you watch a Tampa game, you're going to realize the defense is, it's kind of biased, but maybe one of the worst in the league in my eyes. And the top 6 isn't bad. I think Hagel is really good. Same with Cirelli. Those guys sort of the next sort of layer underneath to Kucherov, Point, and Sammer. But, I think, right shot defenseman as a top 4, someone to play with Hedman or someone to play with Sergachev would be so vital to the Tampa Bay Lightning roster right now. So that would be an easy choice for me. I don't know if you would have a different view, someone sort of who doesn't watch as many Tampa games.
No, absolutely. Looking at the roster, I do believe that they're in dire need of a defenseman, and specifically, I think a right shot defenseman would fit really well on that roster.
All right, next one up. We're going to go a little more impartial with, I guess they're not so favorite teams. But if you were a Montreal fan, would you rather a Slavkovsky breakout season or would you rather a true number 1 goaltender?
Well, first of all, I would never be a Montreal Canadiens fan. But in the case I were, I think I'd say a Slavkovsky breakout. They do have that young forward core and they have experienced some breakouts already from Suzuki and Caulfield. And their third line mate, Slavkovsky, I think if he broke out too, that would be a top line in hockey. That being said, looking at the goaltending, there isn't a lot to choose from, but I do have faith in Caden Primo as a prospect. I do think he can develop and kind of turn into that number 1 goalie down the road. That being said, I would take the Slavkovsky breakout.
Interesting. I would take the other side. I think if they could get a number 1 goalie, right now and for the future, I think they would be locked up. I think they have a lot of great young defensemen and a lot of other great young forwards that, obviously they would like Slavkovsky to break out, but I don't think it would be the end of the, world if he didn't. And I think a number 1 goalie would just be more important to them right now.
Totally can see that side of the argument. Moving forward, sticking out east, we're going to go with the Ottawa Senators. So, if you were a Sens fan, would you rather still have Philip Gustafsson or the DeBrincat trade from Chicago never happened? So Ottawa would have kept all those assets that they traded for DeBrincat.
Off the top of my head, I can only really think of Korchinski being part of that deal, but that's enough as alone. It's tough. I would see if it was a Philip Gustafsson of last year, I would go with Philip Gustafsson. I think, that roster would be, a lot better with a very strong goalie on the back end. And I think, Korchinski would be a great piece to add to their roster. But, they have Shabbat on the left side. They have Chicken on the left side. I think, they have Sanderson as well. As far as, defensemen go, I don't really think they need Korchinski. Maybe they pick someone else at that spot. Who knows? But I think, if they could have Gustafsson, especially of last year, I think that would go a long way for this roster.
Completely agree with you there. I think Philip Gustafsson between the pipes on this team would instantly make the Ottawa Senators a contender, a playoff contender for sure. And like you said, they do have a loaded left side already with Chychrun, Shabbat, and Sanderson. There's no room for Kaczynski, and that's no knock against him. I think he's going to be a great defenseman in this league, but I would also opt for Philip Gustafsson on this Sens team.
Going with the last one, we're pretty much just staying in Canada this whole time, and I'm not going to say if you were a Leafs fan, because you will never be a Leafs fan in your lifetime, but do you think Leafs fans would rather have under their Christmas tree a William Nylander extension or two very solid goaltenders going into the playoffs?
Oof. See, that's a tough one. And if I were a Leaf fan, I would probably say the William Nylander extension. Simply because the cap just doesn't allow it to happen right now. I think Leaf fans would be overjoyed if Nylander were able to stay this offseason, so I'm going to opt for that. I do have some faith in Joe Wall. Hopefully he can come back from that IR and continue to put up a great year. It's a tough question, but I do think the Nylander extension is more important to Leaf fans.
I like debates, so I'll go the other side. I do think, I think their offense would be obviously not just as strong, but it would still be strong with him not and with the team anymore. And I think, they would benefit more from two very solid goaltenders, something they haven't seen in years. I think we're 1 day removed from their 9-3 loss to Buffalo. Both goaltenders had a very bad showing, and Samsonov makes good money. So the fact that that money's tied up with him and he's not performing, it's not a good look for them. And obviously, like you said, Joe Wall, if he comes back and he can do really well, that's great for them. But I think if they can get two solid, consistent goaltenders, that would go a long way, especially in the playoffs.
All right, so moving on, we have another draft battle. And today we're going to go with BC born active players for the draft battle theme. Kenny, I got the first pick last time. The floor is yours.
I would like to disclose that I have no idea who I'm taking with number one pick. I have no idea who the right choice is. But with my first overall pick, we're going to take from the Toronto Maple Leafs, Morgan Rielly.
Wow. Going with the D-man first, it is slim pickings, so I can respect that. That being said, for my first and second picks, we're gonna go with Connor Bedard. And we're gonna take, you know what, we'll leave the D-man for you. We're gonna go with Sam Reinhart, hailing out of West Vancouver.
That was my next pick. We are going to go with the center position. We're going to go with Matt Barzal. And then I will finish up the D. We'll go with another left D. We're going to go Devon Taves.
Good pick. All right, so for my next pick, we'll throw him on the left wing. We're going to go with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. And we'll pick a D-man here. We're going to go with Shea Theodore.
Some good picks. We'll finish off the wingers. And on the right side, I'm going to go with Kent Johnson. And then on the left side, we'll go with Evander Kane.
Solid. Got two picks left here. We got a D-man and a goalie. So we're going to go for our D. We're going to go with Tyson Barrie for the right side. And then in between the pipes, we're going to go with the guy having probably a better year. We're going to go with Adin Hill.
And that was the number one pick there for the goalies. Out of the leftover, I think I'm going to go with the one with the most offensive upside with Tristan Jarry. He's got a goal already this season, so hopefully he can produce for me again. But that wraps it up, guys. Let us know which team you think takes this one. We are both home in BC for the holidays, so that's where the inspiration came from for this one. But that is our all BC born draft battle.
All right, guys, moving on. Trying out a little something new for the trivia section of the podcast. We have Guess Who. So Kenny and I are both thinking of three players, and we're going to take turns asking each other questions back and forth to try and guess those three players. First person to guess all three players wins. Got this idea off of TikTok. I can't remember the account, but credit goes to them. So, Kenny, I will ask you the first question. How many of your players play in the Western Conference? One player plays in the West. Okay.
To make the question different, how many players of your players play in the East?
None of my players play in the East, Kenny. How many of your players shoot right-handed?
Two of them shoot right-handed. How many of your players play in the Central?
One of the players plays in the Central Division. Do any of your players play in the state of Florida?
No.
No? Okay.
Do any of your players play in Canada?
One of my players plays in Canada. Do any of your players play in the Metropolitan Division?
Two of them. In the Pacific, do any of them play in Alberta?
Neither of them play in Alberta. Any of your players play for a team whose city starts with New?
One of them, yeah. Does one of your players play for Vancouver?
One of my players does play for Vancouver.
Okay.
Do any of your players play for the New York Rangers?
They do not. Do any of your players play in the state of California?
One of my players plays in the state of California. How many of your players are forwards?
2. Does your player in California play for a team who has won a Stanley Cup?
He does play for a team that has won a Stanley Cup.
Okay.
Does one of your players play for the New York Islanders?
They do. Does one of your players play for the Anaheim Ducks?
He does not play for the Anaheim Ducks. Is the New York Islander a forward?
He is. Yeah. Is your central player in a playoff position right now?
My central player is not. Is one of your players Bo Horvat?
They are not Bo Horvat.
Okay.
That's a good guess.
Okay.
That's not that easy, though. Does one of your players play for the Chicago Blackhawks?
Does play for the Chicago Blackhawks. Is the player that plays for the Islanders, would you consider him a bottom six forward?
I would not consider him bottom six forward. Okay. Is your Vancouver player a forward?
Yes, he is. Is the New York Islander forward? Does he shoot left-handed?
He does. No.
Okay.
Is your Vancouver forward a winger?
Yes, he plays on the wing. Is one of your players Brock Nelson?
They are not Brock Nelson. Is your Vancouver player Russian?
He's not Russian. Is one of your players Anders Lee?
He is Anders Lee.
Okay.
Is your Vancouver winger American?
He is American. Is your player in the Western Conference? Does he play in the Pacific Division?
He does not. Is your Vancouver player Dakota Joshua?
He's not Dakota Joshua. Are your players currently in a playoff spot? Like their team? Are they currently in a playoff position?
No. Connor Garland.
It is not Connor Garland. For the Minnesota Wild?
They do not. Sam Lafferty.
One of my players is Sam Lafferty. That is correct. One of your players play for the St. Louis Blues?
They do not. How many are forwards?
One of them is a forward. In the West, is he a forward?
He is a forward, yeah. Is your LA Kings player a forward?
He's not a forward. Is your Western Conference forward, does he play in the top six?
Yep. LA Kings player left-handed?
Yes, he is. Is one of your players Taylor Radish?
He is Taylor Radish, yeah. Mikey Anderson.
Not Mikey Anderson. Does he play in the Atlantic Division?
He is not. Vladislav Gavrikov?
It is not. Does your player play in Canada?
He does not. Do you know what division he's in?
Yeah.
What division?
The Metro.
Why would you ask if he plays in Canada?
Cut the tape.
Is one of your players a goalie?
One of my players is a goalie. Does your player play for a team that city starts with new? I'll ask it again.
They do not.
They do not. Okay.
Cam Talbot.
Cam Talbot is correct. One of my players is Cam Talbot. This is a close one. Is your player's team currently in a playoff position?
They are not. Your Blackhawks player left-handed.
Is left-handed. Does your player play for the Pittsburgh Penguins?
He does not. Canadian.
He is, yes. Is your final player Eric Gudbranson?
How in the world did you guess that? No.
So it is Eric Gudbranson.
It is Eric Gudbranson.
Let's go.
Do I get one more?
You get a redemption guess? Go for it.
Jason Dickinson?
It is not Jason Dickinson. You were looking for Nick Foligno.
He's not Canadian.
Dual citizenship. I googled it.
Dang.
I know. I wasn't sure how to answer that, but says he's American and Canadian. So that was a close one. That was really close.
That was very close. Yeah. Two different approaches. I guess. I think you tried to whittle it down one by one, and
Yeah.
I tried to get the teams first.
All right. I mean, both worked
that's
in the
good.
end. That was crazy.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Let us know what you think down below. If we should bring this back. I know Kenny and I enjoyed that, but that was a lot of questions. So let us know what you guys think.
So yeah, guys, just moving on. We're gonna do one trivia question each, just to wrap things up. I've done this question twice before. Once with the Leafs, once with the Canucks. We're gonna go with first rounders on a roster, and today we're gonna go with Edmonton.
The
I do have a
Edmonton.
deal for you. There are 9 total players. However, 3 of them are pretty hard. So if you want the 3 revealed, that takes up a live each. So you can
Okay.
either go for all 9 and have 3 lives, or I can give you 1, 2, or 3 and take away 1, 2, or 3
Okay.
lives.
Do I have to decide beforehand, or can I just start?
You start.
Okay. We'll go with McDavid, Draisaitl,
Yep.
Nugent Hopkins.
Yep.
So we got 3 out of there. Darnell Nurse.
Yep.
Okay. Evander Kane. Oh, Evander Kane.
Yep. There you go. That's 5 for 5.
That's 5. Okay. I'm gonna guess Warren Fogle.
Gordon Fogle is not correct.
Okay. I'll guess Evan Bouchard.
And Bouchard is correct.
Gonna have to guess it. We're gonna go Ryan McLeod.
Ryan McLeod is incorrect.
Running out of ideas here. We're gonna go Sam Gagne.
Sam Gagne is a first round pick. Yep.
Okay. So Dylan Holloway is correct?
Dylan Holloway is a first round pick. There
Okay.
you go.
We'll float Cody Ceci.
Cody Ceci is correct. There you
Bang.
go. That's all 9. Wow.
There you go. That was tough. That was hard. All right, Kenny. So for you, going with a career path, but I'm scared it's going to be too easy, so we're going to take out his current team. So we have the LA Kings, the San Jose Sharks, the Philadelphia Flyers, and then the Seattle Kraken.
Okay. And then a team.
And then a team he plays for right now, yes.
So just to get this down, so it was LA, San Jose,
Philly, Kraken. Philly and then the Kraken, yeah.
I'm gonna go with Martin Jones. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Dude, we gotta cut that. There's no way. So, seeing as that question was clearly too easy for Kenny, I'm gonna give him another question, and we're gonna go with, can you name at least 10 players that the Seattle Kraken took in the expansion draft? 10 players, 3 lives. There's 31 teams to choose from. Let's see it.
Okay. I'll go with the 2 Fleury brothers.
Oh, yeah. Nope, that is correct. Yep.
Okay. Chris Drieger.
Chris Drieger from the Florida Panthers is going to be correct. There's 3.
Brandon Tanev.
Brandon Tanev is correct from the Penguins.
I'll try to keep it together for this one. Yanni Gourde.
Yanni Gourde, tough loss for Tampa. That's 4.
Cole Lind.
Cole Lind from the Canucks is correct.
Jared McCann.
Jared McCann is correct from the Leafs.
Jordan Eberle.
Jordan Eberle is correct. I believe that's 8 for 8.
Vince Dunn. And Mark Giordano.
Vince Dunn, Mark Giordano, 10 for 10. Can't beat you, man. The knowledge is too much.
That about wraps it up, guys. We hope you enjoyed the Christmas themed episode. I hope everyone is home for the holidays, and I hope everyone can celebrate a Christmas if you do celebrate.
No, nothing more. Thanks for tuning in. Happy holidays. Hope you're with family and having a good time.
In the work, but I don't be getting my flowers. You really thought she would be sweet? It's a whole nother level of